Yo, what's going on? Let me get this thought out while I still can. Hey, look, check this out. Fighting games need to do what UFC 5 what UFC 5 is doing. They really need to reset the ranks. I'm talking about completely reset them from top to bottom. I ain't talking about just lower a couple just a couple of ranks. No. Don't make it about that. No. Reset the ranks and the leaderboards for everything from top to bottom. Yeah, let that simmer for a moment. Oh, that's going to make the rank a ghost town. No, it ain't. Check it out. UFC 5 actually has a smaller player base than probably the smallest fighting game that you know. Okay? And then, meanwhile, ranked matches on UFC 5 stay active, populated, throughout the entirety of its release, 2-3 years, right? I don't know too many smaller fighting games that can say the same thing, right? So, reset the ranks, hard reset the ranks. Every 6-7 weeks, UFC 5 does it about like every 45 days. So that's about 7 weeks, right? And then, yeah, I know the scrubs are going to cry. I know a lot of you guys worked hard, to get your rank up from double wood to finally make bronze. And you don't want to have to go through all that again, right? And then the sharks, for the top players, at the top of the leaderboards, they get tired of playing the same old, sharks that's going to take their points away, The top players, the top 1 to 300 players on the leaderboards or whatever in these fighting games, once they get to that spot, those cats disappear from the queue. Why? Because they don't want to put those hard-earned points on the line, right? They don't want to put those points on the line. So that's another 300 players out the queue. Top 300. They say, nah, I'm not putting my points on the line. You ain't finna take my points. Right? How many of y'all know what I'm talking about? Y'all done been there before, right? I don't watch a lot of y'all cats play Street Fighter and y'all be doing one and dones and, all that because the guy gave you a challenge, right? And you barely won that match on that first match. And then you just, you don't give him that run back. You don't even finish the set because he made you work harder, right? See, that's the kind of thing that kills your ranked ecosystem, right? But so check it out. The smaller games, that are not called Street Fighter or not called Tekken or Guilty Gear or Grand Blue, where they got 15, 20,000 people, always playing, anytime you decide to boot the thing up, right? So for those smaller games, if you want to keep ranked, active, because that's the thing that I feel like people be quick to say, oh, it's a Discord fighter. Oh, you can't find ranked matches. Yeah, it's a automatically Discord fighter. Well, I think you can kind of get ahead of that and mitigate all that if you would just reset the ranks every 6 to 7 weeks. So what happens is these players are climbing up the ranks. Why? Because they want to see their name at the top of the leaderboard for bragging rights. So they got something to show for all those hours in the lab, all their hard work. They want you to know that they got that sauce. So they want to see their name on top of the leaderboard. Oh, okay. Cool. You want to see your name on top? And you want it to stay up there? You don't get to be like, oh, I'm gonna come back and play. If somebody get on top of my leaderboard, then I'll beat them and then I'll just disappear for another 6 months. Yeah, nah. So if you want to be the man or gal or whatever, you got to keep playing the game. So what happens is, at the start of every season, I'm gonna tell you how it works in UFC 5 real quick because I don't want to take up too much of y'all time. So how what I've noticed in UFC 5 is that when every new season starts, boom, Everybody like, okay, boom, we back in it. Like we playing, okay? And then, partway through the season, it might dip a little bit. People will get to the desired level, but still, the last few days towards the season, it spikes right back up because everybody wants to finish their season strong, and be on top. They want to be able to say, oh yeah, I made top 100. I was top 100 that season and stuff like that, right? So if it can work for a non-FGC title, a non-fighting game, and that's a sports simulation, by the way, fighting, combat sports simulator. I'm not going to try and say that should be included in the FGC. Don't worry, y'all. Don't worry. Y'all ain't ready for that. Y'all can't even handle evasion, so there's no fucking way y'all can handle UFC 5. But anyway, back to my point. Yeah, reset the ranks, right? Reset the ranks. Keep your player base active and involved. They want to see their names on top of those boards. Okay, cool. Keep playing. All right, you was here for season 1. All right, can you do it again in season 2? Cool. Think about how much more content will come out of that for your games, and the fighting games are largely driven by community. So, like I said, to recap, like I said, the top 1 in 300 players, when they get to the top of those leaderboards, they gone. You ain't gonna see them no more. That's that many players gone from your queue, right? Then the mid-level players ain't got nobody to play up against, and they're just kind of, rotating and recycling each other. And y'all kind of get, get married to one another in the ranked queue. Y'all play the same players over and over and over again. But that tends to happen once you get to the top. But you know what fixes all that? Especially with, let's say you're one of those players who gets to the top and you can't even find nobody because, it's lonely at the top. Your player pool starts to shrink the better you are, the better you perform. So, and that's not fair to those players who actively enjoy the game, because when those top players disappear, those are the players that are strong enough to keep the scene going and carry the game and make content and do whatever and perform and show the game off at high level play. But you ain't gonna see them nowhere because they don't want to risk those points, right? So you get rid of that, but just by taking everybody's points at the start of every season, and watch how much more life your ranked queue gets, even for your smaller games. I know damn well it'll work for the larger games, but for your smaller games, yeah, that's what you need. Okay, KOF, City of the Wolves, all that grant, whatever. Insert your favorite niche fighting game, right? It would benefit from having season resets. It would keep players coming back. It'll give them a reason to come back. What they call that, like a gameplay loop, and then some type of incentive loop. Okay? So, yeah, it gets lonely at the top. And I'm talking, right now I'm talking about the can-do players. Yeah, the players who are strong enough to carry the scene. Like I said, it's not because they got bored with it. They didn't get bored. They just don't want to sacrifice those points. All right? Damn, I said I wasn't even going to be long in this month. Okay, my bad. I'm going to stop rambling, y'all. But what y'all think about that? Okay? Put some real thought into it. Don't be like, oh my God, then you'll kill your game. No, I need you to really think. Think. All right, it's your boy, Fame Douglas, F. Doug, Uncle Fame, all the above. All right, I'm going to go ahead and lay down for the night. But I need y'all to think about that. Yeah, we need ranked resets, full-on resets every 6-7 weeks. If a non-fighting game can make that work, I know fighting games with all the bells and whistles and everything else, I know they're going to be eating, all right? Fame Douglas, F. Doug, Uncle Fame, all of the above. The most known you ain't never heard of. Okay, I'm out.